I got a question. I want to know if the Christians honor the Gospel of Thomas.
Today's Christians, no. Christians of the past, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of works that can be cited in this regard. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want, I mean, without going into too much detail,
Mm-hmm.
scholars who have worked laboriously on the Gospel of Thomas, so people who have like an actual expertise in collating the manuscripts, in deciphering the Coptic and the Greek, or just looking into the ancient reception of the text, they have pretty much come to the conclusion that it is a first century text that was highly of Christianity. There are a few outliers of people who actually worked on the text, like Mark Goodacre, who places it towards the end of the first century or beginning of the second century. But the vast majority, like Elaine Pagels, John Dominic Crossan, Robert M. Grant, who else? Ron Cameron, Zlatko Plete, all of these people who have like worked on the actual Gospel of Thomas fragments, Stephen Patterson, et cetera, et cetera. They'll say that it's a first century text that was actually utilized by the early church. And how we know this is because we have more early fragments of the Gospel of Thomas than we have for the Gospel according to Mark. We have more early fragments of the Gospel according to Thomas than we have for the Gospel according to Mark. We have earlier citations of Thomas than we have for many of the New Testament documents. We have, for example, um, uh, Clement of Alexandria in the late second century, saying that it is a logia of the Lord, that he who wonders shall reign, and he who reigns shall find peace. This is from the Gospel according to Thomas. There are statements by Origen of Alexandria, who says that as if the Lord himself said, he who is near me is near the kingdom, and he who is far from me is near the fire. Okay? There are manuscripts that claim to be from a gospel, quote unquote, according to the Hebrew, like the Zion manuscript of Matthew, that actually contains quotations of the Gospel of Thomas. Up till today, until more scrutiny is done on the fragments, the earliest Christian document, the earliest supposed Christian like work of theology is a manuscript that includes sayings from the Gospel of Thomas. It's called Papyrus 5575, and it was just published last year. It has um, quotations or logion from things similar to the Gospel according to Luke, and from things similar to the Gospel according to Matthew, and then verbatim statements from the Gospel according to Thomas. This was dated, and why I'm very confident about a second century dating for this text is because who dated it but evangelicals? And evangelicals, according to even people like Brent Nombre, they are very incentivized to date non 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 canonical material later. So if they date something that is Thomasine or apocryphal to the second century, most likely they have very good grounds to do so. So this document P5575 is one of our earliest fragments of the of anything similar to the New Testament. So we have it in early manuscripts, also P644 and P645. Those are early manuscripts. P Oxy 1 as well, a Greek fragment of the Gospel of Thomas. And then we have Hippolytus in the second century saying that there were communities called the Nassenes who utilized this text, and he gives us fragments from it. So yeah, early Christians did covet this text, and they did believe in it, and they did think that it was attributed to Thomas. And then we have large translations of it in Latin, in Coptic, in Armenian, in so many different languages, which means that the church sometime in the 5th or 6th century started proliferating these works. And we have those codices still today. So yes, it was revered. It was read. It was read as scripture, and it was accepted. But after the canonization process, since Thomas does not have a passion narrative, it does not have any like Pauline material, and that was like one of the like the central criteria for determining what is canonical and what isn't, by its adherence to the strict you know um, Christological understanding of Jesus, or the story of the New Testament. They left it out. If there's a good online article for free by Professor Anne Marie Lyon of Princeton, one of the foremost scholars in papyrology and Egyptology and just the Alexandrian Christianity in general, which all of our manuscripts are basically from Alexandria. It's called Reading the Gospel of Thomas in the Second Century by Anne-Marie Leyendyke. You can find this article for free on Academia. It's maybe like 20 or 30 pages. It's very insightful.
Barakallah feek.